So of course, I am an Ilongga, so I use
Oh.
the Ilonggo term. So example, during the opening the show, I said, "Welcome to Cook Up with Kuratsa." And then I said, "Kamusta kamo dira mga inday, mga tuto, mga kurupdot," like that. So it seems that people likes it, especially my family and my friends in the province, since that I came from Iloilo and I'm proud to speak in our own dialect.
Is it possible for somebody to learn how to speak in English despite a lifetime of using the vernacular? And if the answer is yes, what resources can that person count on?
You must have the desire,
Yes.
the right motivation to consistently improve the way you communicate in English. So that's the first thing.
Mm.
Um, I, in the many years that I've taught this program, uh, business communication, business writing, English proficiency, the one thing that I often hear from my participants is that the the training or learning the language is easy
Mm.
because we spent like 10 years of our formal education learning English, learning grammar, using it in our academic requirements, filling out forms. I mean, the Philippines is one country in Asia where everything is in English.
Yes.
And working in tourism, that is one of the things that my guests often comment about.
Mm.
All the signs are in English. The newspapers are in English. What they hear on the radio is in English.
Mm.
So they know that our exposure is like 24/7.
Mm.
Your question is usually marketing and sales, they've been used interchangeably. Yeah, perfectly correct. A lot of people say, I'm doing marketing, but I'm basically exchanging goods. When we talk about marketing, this is the art and science of a process of satisfying customer needs and wants. No? So when you satisfy clients, you should be able to satisfy their needs, but you must also be able to create wants. So basically, when we talk about marketing, this is the total building up of awareness. And when you talk about sales, these are all the activities before selling. So this is the actual exchange of commodities for a cost or with a value. So basically, that's it. Marketing, you create awareness. Sales is the activity. Selling is the actual exchange.
Right. So here's the tricky part, you know? I can understand, maybe I know what you're thinking. It's not easy.
Mm.
I guess you try to do it, you try to prevent yourself from watching porn for the first 3 days, and then after the third day, you would watch again, masturbate again. It's okay. Be kind to yourself in the process.
Mm.
If you slide back, try again.
Mm.
Um, the thing is, don't ever tell yourself that you're stupid, that you're not
Mm.
good enough. That's why you're failing. No, that's not the point of the book.
Mm.
The book tells you to love yourself more. Love
Mm.
your failures. If you really want to stop it, um, try again, one step at a time. Okay, until
Mm.
you prolong. Okay, until you prolong. Uh, your ability not to watch porn.
Mm.
So, how do you lead this wider ecosystem of workers? How do you engage and inspire and all these things, you're meant to do as a leader if it's not someone sitting in your office? Now, firstly, obviously, you have to do it, but, you do all of the basic things you do as a decent human being anyway. Like if someone is literally contributing to your success and working for you, you know, treat them like an adult, explain your mission, ask for their opinions and ideas, know them as a person. I deal with a lot of, online workers, and, why don't you ask them kind of like, how's your day going? What's COVID like over there? What's the economy doing in India or Philippines or wherever you are? Appreciate their results, make them feel included. I mean, these are the very basics of management. Why suddenly wouldn't you do that just because a person's not sitting next to you? I mean, that's a bit of a dumb reason in this modern day and age where, everything's online like this presentation. The world's shifting.
There was at that time an emerging advocacy which had something to do with the IT, business process management space. I've seen how the space is making so much difference to Filipinos. It changes lives, so many lives for the better. It's an economic powerhouse because even amidst the pandemic, we actually saw growth in the industry in terms of revenue and headcount. So there's a lot of opportunities there. However, if we compare the Philippine market and the Indian market, which is considered to be the leader in that space, in the Indian market, it's composed of 70% local players and 30% multinational players. And that's not exactly the case that we have in the Philippines. What we have probably, I don't have the exact figure, but it's safe to say that 95% of the players in the industry are actually multinational. But we have enough expertise and leaders in this industry. So I also thought, why not also advance that advocacy by being an entrepreneur myself, to be able to demonstrate that Filipinos in the IT BPM space need not be employees, they can also be entrepreneurs.
If you look at the countries in Latin America and in Africa compared to the newly industrialized countries, mainly in East Asia, what was the difference, right? The main difference was that these countries who jumped up from, I guess, from the south to the north, is they were an exporting country. They were net exporters. That really is the plain secret. It's as simple as that. If you, this thing about getting direct FDIs, foreign direct investments, is it FDIs, right? So here we have President Marcos going out looking for foreign investors to invest here. That's okay, provided that the money that the foreigner who comes here and sets up a business sets up a corporation where they export more than what they earn as profits. Because if they set up a company here and they sell all their products in the Philippines and then they expatriate the profit, we just lost money.
True.
Right? But what the Singaporeans and the Taiwanese and all these successful countries did, they did invite some foreign investors, but they made sure that these companies that were set up would export more than the profits that were expatriated. So if a company expatriates, let's say, $10 million as profit, and they exported $20 million as export for the country, that means the country gained $10 million.
My business, my career is closely tied with Toastmasters because at the beginning of my business, that was when I was still trying to learn and be more adept in the business. And that was also the time when I joined Toastmasters. So magkapareho, it's the age, my career age and Toastmaster age is closely similar. Probably some of the reluctant leaders, there is always this doubt that kaya ko ba? Will I be able to do it? Will I be at par with all the other leaders? So there is always that fear of, will I be able to do the job that the position would ask for? So it took me 10 years before I went into that. But when I moved out of my club, well, I would say wonderful things happened. That was when I really, really enjoyed Toastmasters. So when I became division governor, because here in Toastmasters we have this club, area, division. I didn't pass through the area. I went straight to division, and as a division governor, oh wow, I was enjoying myself. So from then, tuloy-tuloy na.
What kept me going is really the quote from the book Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. When I read it, it says that before you end this lifetime, you have to know what is really that legacy or that mission that you can give so that it will really help you to keep on going. For me, I realized that my role is really to help teachers become better teachers. That's why I'm also a professor at Cebu Technological University College of Education. And I know that I can help parents become better parents because in my school, I also conduct parenting seminars. And finally, I will be able to help our students become better learners. So I always have that in my heart that if I want to do something good, I need to make it better. And if I do something better, I do it the best way I can.
But in the corporate world, you realize that perception matters a lot. And your reputation is actually how others have experienced you. So reputation often is referred to by communication experts as the total sum and feelings that one has created, or one has entertained, thoughts and feelings about you that I've entertained. That is your reputation. And so therefore, as any brand or company, it is our job to make sure that we communicate ourselves very authentically, very truthfully, very honestly, so that people around us who encounter us have the correct perception of who we are, because their perception is our reputation.
Okay,
So it
excellent.
can be, so again, it can be very philosophical in that sense, right? So a lot of what we do as PR professionals or people who are involved in corporate communication is to make sure that we craft truthful narratives about ourselves so that people understand us better, and they have therefore in their heads an accurate picture of who you are.
Rest and sleep is part of the normal cycle of life. We see that in nature, we see that everywhere. The sun will set, the sun will rise. The tide will ebb and the tide will rise. And even in music, Dino, and even in our conversation, it is not a worthwhile conversation if I'm the only person who is speaking and you are just, taking the other end of it. That's why I want this to be very interactive as well. And in music, the impact of any opera or any musical design would be less impactful if there is no rest. Even in your notes, there is always a rest, a note into it, right? So
Yes.
now the impact of silence can sometimes even be more powerful uh,
Mm.
than the actual big notes,
Mm.
right? So we have to understand how rest and action could actually play a pivotal role in our success because they go hand in hand.
Is consistency. So aside from that, is building this their own mindset. It's sometimes I would do this shock and I'm going to say like, in the future, how are you going to see yourself? Are you going to see yourself as lethargic, although a leader, or as someone who is still a leader and still active? Try to visualize that. So I'm going to give them motivation to have that mindset. Then I'm going to encourage them to have a consistent activity that they should do, because it's really hard for anyone to be so consistent. In order for you to overcome that that procrastination of being inconsistent, you should be able to have something to do that you can consistently, regularly do. And from that, I'm going to suggest first is walking, because if you can overcome walking, a consistent program of walking, like for example, 7 o'clock, you can do 30 minutes walking in your condominium grounds, or perhaps even at your own place that you find safe and it's enough challenging to do. Please do walking. Then from walking, you're going to progress. Someone or anyone should be able to overcome their procrastination and inculcate in their mind that consistency. From consistency, we can progress.